What up, gatekeepers? Back at you with another episode 8, Sacrifices. Today, I got a very special guest with me. He's pretty famous on the platform of TikTok for basketball, and his name is Matt Hart. He's a 27-year-old professional basketball player who went through all the ups and downs and learned what it truly meant to grind. He went from a D3 college basketball team to a D1 college basketball team, and now he's playing professionally overseas doing what he loves to do. Matt is a guy that I honestly see a lot of myself in. He's someone that has attained an insane work ethic just from basketball and going into the gym every day, working on your craft nonstop to become the best player that you can be and get to the highest level that you possibly can. Recap of our last episode with Brad. We have seen an increase in downloads. We are over 1,000 downloads collectively. So I strongly urge you guys, keep listening, and every episode has its own unique moment and aha moment where you guys are like, wow, I did not know that. And seriously, the earlier you listen to all these podcasts and information and knowledge, the better off you're going to be in the future. And I tell my kids, you have a decade head start on me right now. I'm giving you all the information that I've attained from my father and going through trial and error myself. The earlier you know all this information and can process it and make your own opinions, the smarter and more intelligent human being that you're going to be. And if we're more knowledgeable about whatever we're trying to improve in, we're going to get to the best possible self and highest level. If you have not checked out our CTG Shooting Academy, I strongly urge you to do so if you're trying to become an elite shooter and take your game to the next level. It's the perfect blend of the knowledge, the drills, and the mindset necessary to become an elite shooter. If you're not following our social media pages, you must if you're trying to take your game to the next level at CTG Hoops. I'm really excited for this one. Matt's a guy I've been following for a while across his journey with over 100,000 TikTok followers. I'm extremely excited to talk to a guy that I actually look up to a whole lot. So let's dive right into it, Gatekeepers. Episode 8, Sacrifices with Matt Hart.
I think sacrifices was definitely a really good subject for this topic just because of your podcast, right? It's first in, last out.
Yeah.
All that sacrifices.
Right.
So I want to know, what are the biggest sacrifices you've made just over your entire career with basketball?
So I always grew up, underrated, small, not really thought of as much. I was good, but I was undersized. Guys were quicker than me. Guys were stronger than me, faster than me. So I made a choice early on that I was just going to outwork people. And, with outworking people, it takes a lot of sacrifice because you're sacrificing time with your family, your friends, vacations, all that, just so you can have a chance at, your goals. And I missed so many family vacations, and I didn't go out in high school at all. Like all I did was just, I played 3 sports too. So I was constantly doing something.
Really?
Yeah. So I played soccer and baseball.
Okay.
And I think that's a big part of success for kids as well. Playing different sports, because you can easily get burnt out just playing one sport constantly, especially as a kid. So it was actually good. I think it's really good, and it was a good mix for me because I would go from soccer season to basketball season to baseball, and it was always fresh, always something new. So I think that helped a lot. But as I said, sacrifices is just like, it's second nature to me now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, with other sports, not only mentally does it help, but body movement, coordination wise, it's going to translate to a bunch of different things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You sound very similar to how I was, because I was the same dude in high school. I didn't go out. It was just, and I was only one sport. So I played like 4 sports up until I was a freshman.
Okay.
And then I just did basketball, but I was just like you. Like my freshman year of basketball, I think I was barely 5 feet tall.
Right.
And so I was tiny, and so I knew I was just gonna have to outwork people.
Right.
And I'm still not athletically gifted, but you just gotta grind at your skills and let your body grow into your body. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is that something that you that somebody kind of taught you, or you just kind of picked up on, or that's just how you're built?
I definitely got it from my father. He was definitely a grinder.
Yeah.
He was an entrepreneur, and there was one time I remember he would just tell me stories. He'd go days without sleeping to work on his business.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff would inspire me. And I remember one time I was in like 7th or 6th grade, and he asked me to wake up early one morning. And ever since I've done that, I've just always wanted to work on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I mean, my dad was always, he instilled in me at a young age that, if you want something, you got to work for it. Like things aren't just handed to you, especially if it's, in the sports setting, because there's always kids who are going to be bigger and stronger and faster, and you got to do something about that. You know what I mean?
And I just think 90% of kids just rely on their athleticism when they're younger. And then when they get older, they actually don't gain this work ethic because they didn't have to actually work for anything.
Right.
So it's almost like you have an advantage in terms of, and you play professionally, but most kids' basketball cuts off at 18 years old.
Yeah.
You have a way bigger advantage if you had to grind to get to wherever you are than if you just use talent.
And even if you don't continue to play basketball or whatever your sport is, you still have that, that work ethic to revert back to in whatever you do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like what you're doing now, how you transitioned from a college basketball player now into training kids. So I think what I really want to know is, did you always want to do this, or is this something you just said, let me try out, see what happens?
So my dad made Close the Gate hoops about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
And I didn't end up, he did like individuals and stuff. And then eventually he came up with the idea of doing a 3-on-3 league with kids in our area.
Yeah.
And then he asked me to work for him. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll work for you. And then, so basically I've been training and coaching kids for like 4 years now. And then I ended up taking over the business like 6 months ago.
Oh, cool.
And that's when I really started to ramp up working with kids. And I had 25 kids about 5 months ago, and now we're at 70 plus. So we're doing pretty
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But it comes so easy though, because all the things I'm showing them, I did for like 5 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's something that it's easy to achieve what you want to achieve when it's your passion.
Right. And what I liked about when I first saw your stuff, what I liked about it is it's so simple and translatable to games, because sometimes you see trainers and doing certain things where you're like, okay, it looks cool on video and like you'll get a lot of views and you'll get a lot of likes, but what does it actually do? You know what I mean? So that's why I liked your video so much, is because you're giving kids a foundation to build on, to get better every single day. So that's what I liked about it,
Well, that's one thing I say all the time is you got to have a why.
Mm-hmm.
And I make sure my kids know a why, because I'm starting to learn that, because it's all about how fast you can make a kid better, because everyone gets good. It's people who can get better faster. I'm learning, I call them skill builders. So that's like, you don't use a tennis ball in a game, but you can use it to train to obviously increase hand-eye coordination faster.
Yeah.
Skill builders work really well with younger kids.
Yeah.
So they get a lot better faster doing stuff like that. And then the older you are, like you have a ton of like moves and footwork. Like the older you get, that's when skill builders aren't as translatable. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think that's a good point, because I've worked with young kids and I've worked with college and pro kids, and it's really difficult to teach a 22, 23-year-old guy new footwork, and it's just because they've been playing for such a long time, they've only done it a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
When you get a 12-year-old kid who doesn't know how to walk and chew gum at the same time, it's easier to teach him basketball related movements. You know what I mean? No,
I totally agree with that. That's really, really good. And so you're playing professionally, right? Are you on a team right now, or?
Oh, it's been, for everybody, it's been a wild, couple months and full year, I guess now. But so I was in Ireland. I signed a contract in Ireland. I was there for 3 months. They canceled the season. So I've been back home training, staying in shape, looking for a new team. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just, I'm staying ready for my opportunity whenever that comes.
So how does that work? Do you have like an agent that's just always advertising you basically, or?
Yeah. So my agent, he has probably 30 or 40 clients, and he's got connections in Europe and kind of all over the place. So he's constantly pushing, my stuff and the other guy's stuff. So I honestly, it's brutal because I can't really do a lot to push it forward. I kind of just have to wait to see if a team is interested.
Are you just training all day then, or how does that work for you?
Basically, yeah.
So what does a normal day look like for you then?
Yeah. So right now where I'm at, I'm in Michigan. So I lift at 6:30 every morning, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. And then I go straight to the basketball court after that for another basketball workout. And then most days I go back for a second workout in the afternoon, basketball workout. So I'll do like a basketball skills workout and then a shooting workout. So I'd say I do that 5 days a week, 2 basketball workouts. Saturday is usually just one, a lift, cross training kind of thing, and then a basketball workout. And then Sunday is very light. And that's something I've adopted very recently, is taking days off and lighter days, because I didn't know how to do it. Growing up, I never did it.
Literally me. I would run my body in the ground.
And and a couple weeks ago, I got done playing pickup with some guys, and I came into the house and I was just like, I can't walk. Like, I needed a day off, and I'm not one to take a day off. So like, I've just kind of started to be like, okay, you're 27, you got to take days off. Like, you can't it's not going to help going to the court hurt. You know what I mean?
Well, if your body can't give 100%, then you're almost, it's not efficient.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your body needs that one day of nothing.
Yeah. And I finally at 27 realized that it's actually better for you to take a day off than try and get shots up when you're not 100%.
Yeah. So do you go into like focuses into each workout, or is it like, do you just do ball handling, finishing, and shooting every workout?
Every workout has a focus. So I'll write it out usually on my phone. I just type it into the notes kind of before the workout, what I want to do. And then I don't follow the script exactly. I just kind of flow into how I'm feeling, what I need to work on more. But every workout has a starting point. Like, this is what I want to start with. This is what I want to accomplish. I want to do this 100 times, or I want to make this shot 50 times. But usually it ends up something completely different, because I either see something in my mind a different way, or I go back, because I watch a lot of film on myself and players. So I go back into the film I just recently watched of like Chris Paul or something, and be like, okay, so he does it this way. Why does he do it this way? And then I try to do it. And that's kind of how my workouts go. And I like it because it's always new, and I'm always thinking about new ways to do things,
Mm-hmm. Is there a guy you model your game after a lot, or?
I wouldn't say there's one guy of like, okay, I'm going to be Chris Paul, I'm going to be Steve Nash, because I'm a big believer in being your own person, your own player. Sure. But I've definitely stolen moves from Chris Paul, Steve Nash, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, all the top point guards. And CJ McCollum's a guy I watch a lot now, because he's just unbelievable.
He's crazy footwork.
He's the one I'd say I play the most like I'm not saying I'm CJ McCollum, but the way we move and the shots we get and the shots we like to take, it's very similar. So I'm constantly watching his film and his games and stuff.
So you'd say you're probably a little more of an off guard than
I
combo.
I play the point, but I'd consider myself more of a combo guard. Like, I'm definitely not a pure point guard where I'm looking, to get 15 assists in a game. Like, I'm a scorer. I was a born scorer. That's what I do. So
I'd probably say I'm a combo guard also.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I think having a combo guard on a team is very important. And even if you have a couple guys who can play both positions, I think that's kind of the new wave. You're seeing that a lot now with not really a lot of pure point guards, especially in the NBA anymore. Like, it's really just guys who can score,
Yeah. No, that's really good. The game's always evolving too. That's one thing I've been doing with my training a lot is how we teach too. And I'm the same way with you, because how you say you pick basically all these different things from other people.
Yeah.
That's how I've been trying to learn how to train. So obviously there's a ton of viral trainers right now. And I'll pick different types of teachings from them because I think all of them have their right teachings, but some of them go way overboard in maybe like skill enhancement, like using cones and stuff. Do you know who PJ Performance is?
Yeah.
He just had a video out the other day about closeouts, and he was getting a bunch of heat for it, and he's so right about it. The old teaching of you need to take like 10 choppy steps to close out.
Yeah.
Realistically, watch yourself in a game, it's like 3.
Right.
And that's one thing I've been trying to do is the teaching needs to evolve also, just like the game evolves.
Yeah.
And I think people just hold on to these things that have been said for so long without actually thinking about it.
And I've had a couple of my college coaches were old school, and you weren't allowed to take a layup off you weren't take a right hand layup, like you had to jump stop in the lane at all times. You had to pivot a certain way, and he was a successful coach, but the kids nowadays, that's not how you play. Like, you don't play to get in the paint, jump stop, kick like this, and then relocate. Like, it's such a more flow type of game.
Yeah.
Kids learn a different way. So it's cool that you said, constantly trying to evolve, because I think that's so important, especially for younger kids, to keep learning different things.
Like, that's why obviously every era is going to be different, because kids have way more resources.
Yeah.
How to get better. Like, I don't even remember what I was doing in 5th grade to get better at basketball. It was probably the most simple 2-ball dribbling. And now we got all these other things. You know what I mean?
And I to that point, I'm pretty sure I would just go to the gym with my dad and he'd rebound for me. Like, I'm pretty sure that's all I would do. Like, I wouldn't do any of this stuff.
You just shoot around.
Yeah, just get shots up and work hard. That's all I remember.
And that's another thing I've been doing with my students. I'm making it required for them to listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
I always joke around with them. I'll say, yeah, I'd be on television right now if I would have had this information. But I'll always tell them knowledge is king. Like, it took me 19 years to give them this information, and they have the opportunity to get it at 9 years old. Like, they have a whole decade head start. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's it can be bad because it's so much, but you learn how to use it to your advantage and get the right information. I mean, it's amazing how many things are out there that can help you.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Let me ask you this. I want to get more of your kind of your background, your backstory. So talk about your high school career and then into college.
So high school, man, it was always up and down. So freshman year, again, I don't know exactly what my height was, but I was extremely tiny. My biggest thing when I was in high school is I need to gain weight and just get bigger. And freshman year, I think I was a 6th man my sophomore year on JV. I was only a 2-year varsity player, junior and senior year. Junior, minutes were up and down. I don't think I started like 1 or 2 games.
Okay.
So I probably averaged like 5 points per game my junior year. Senior year, I had a great senior year. It wasn't up to my expectations because obviously you put so much into the game. Yeah. You're going to obviously be let down in some way, shape, or form because you think, you worked for it. I think I ended up 2nd or 3rd in the conference in scoring. It was like 16 a game, somewhere around there. Yeah. I don't know the exact numbers, but I wasn't recruited like I thought I was going to be. And I'm from Janesville, Wisconsin. I played at Janesville Craig. And so I only got a couple schools looking at me from D3. And I knew that I wanted to play in the WIAC. That's considered the best D3 school in the country by most standards. Yeah. And it's cheaper to go to school there than all these private schools that wanted me. So I decided between 2 WIAC schools, and I ended up going up north Wisconsin to UW River Falls. Okay.
And talk about your experience there.
So I was there for 1 year. It was my freshman year. I had to work. I was a borderline kid if I was going to make the team or not. Yeah. Of course, I had to outwork everyone to get to that point. And then I made the team. I worked my way up to – I was on the gray squad. I was on the gray squad the first half of the year. Second half of the year, I was on the second. There was 3 groups, right? You had the white team, the red team, and the gray squad. I ended up getting on the red team. I was backup point guard the last half of the year. Wasn't getting too many minutes. I don't even know what my averages were. They weren't spectacular.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 to 3 minutes a game. And then COVID hit, and all this stuff happened last year, and then I started running Close the Gate. And I still do not know if I'm going to end up going back to college yet to play. But if I did, it would be to play.
Yeah, right.
But it's crazy how much better I've gotten since I've been out of college, though, just because you've had so much time to train.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But in terms of success, I still am reaching for all my work to pay off. But because of how hard I worked, this business has been so easy for me.
Right. And it's, and I say it all the time. Some things just happen, not really the way you want them to, but something different happens that is either better or, just different than what you thought, but it's still a success.
Yeah, well, it'll end up being better in the end. I believe there's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
But I saw you interviewed, what's his name? Austin, right?
Yeah.
Podcast. Yeah. You ended up playing one-on-one. Yeah. I want to play you one-on-one. I cannot believe that you lost.
I know.
I was shocked.
I know. Hey, things happen, man. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses. I did walk off the plane and start playing one-on-one with him. So, but Austin's legit. He's a legit basketball player. He can be a pro for sure. So, but I need a rematch with him, and then we got to play one-on-one for sure.
That's awesome. No, that was really good.
Yeah.
You're just so you just play smooth. You're not rushed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I like watching you when you play.
That's something I've learned in the past couple of years, is to just relax and let my game come out and not force anything. Because and I've gotten into trouble in the past from forcing things and wanting things to happen so quickly. It usually doesn't work out. So if I'm playing at my own pace and letting things come and just playing my game, it works out so much better for me.
So we talked about my college story. Why don't we get a little bit? So you were obviously not recruited like you wanted to be, correct? Yeah. And you went D3 to D1.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that kind of transformation a little bit? Or?
Yeah. So high school, same as you. I was small. I played only 2 years of varsity. I was definitely talented enough and skilled enough to play on varsity as a sophomore, but I just couldn't physically. I couldn't take it. So I played JV first years and then varsity. I had a really good high school career. I was one of the best players in our area, Western New York. Wasn't getting recruited by Division I schools. A bunch of Division III interest. I talked to 25, 30 schools, Division III schools. So it was cool to be recruited and wanted.
Yeah.
But as a high school kid, you want to go Division I. So I was frustrated a lot. So I think it was early on in my senior year. I kind of realized I wasn't going to get the Division I looks that I wanted. So I committed to a Division III school, Hamilton College in New York, close to where I'm from. And it was a really good fit scheme wise, and the coach liked me. So my first 2 years there, I was starting and I was playing a lot, and I was the leading scorer both seasons. And I really enjoyed it. We weren't very good though. That was the biggest thing. I think we were 12-12 my freshman year, and then 14-11 my sophomore year. And I don't do well with losing.
Yeah.
So I was frustrated on that end. And just at the end of my sophomore year, I just decided that I was going to try and make the jump to Division I, because at that point I was 6'1", 6'2" I put on a lot of weight. I was playing really well, and I thought, I can handle Division I level. So I went for it. I didn't get the offers that I was looking for. I got a lot. What did you say?
Was it your plan to make the jump to Division I when you went D3, or were you just kind of?
Yeah, no, not at all. I was ready to play 4 years at Hamilton for sure. And then, after my sophomore year, I really played well, and I was honorable mention All-American or something like that. It was a long time ago, but Yeah, and I just made the decision. So I got a lot of looks, but not a lot of scholarship offers. So my thought process was I'm going to go to the school that is recruiting me the hardest, regardless of scholarship. So that was George Washington in DC. Like all 5 coaches on staff would call me every single day, but they didn't have a scholarship to offer me at the moment. So I ended up going there, obviously, sat out because when you transfer, you got to sit out. So I had to pay my way that year. But then my final 2 seasons where I could actually play, I was on scholarship because I beat out like 2 or 3 kids.
Really?
Yeah, I made them I basically made them transfer just because I was going to play over them. And looking back, it wasn't a good fit, like for my style of play. Yeah, the coach, I had 2 coaches. One got fired, and then the next one came in my senior year. It just wasn't. It definitely wasn't what I expected it to be. My minutes, my senior year especially, were like a roller coaster. Like I was starting playing 25 minutes, and then I was on the bench playing 3 minutes. It was very frustrating, especially as a 5th-year senior. It's my last go around.
That's the worst thing to happen to a player when you don't
Yeah.
know how many minutes you're gonna get a night.
Every single game I went in saying I could play 0 minutes, I could play 25.
That's only gonna mess up a player, like
Yeah.
prevent them from playing their best. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what really messed me up is I think 7 or 8 games in, I had been starting since the start of the season. I started the first 7 games, and an hour before our next game, he totally changed the starting lineup. Didn't tell me, didn't say anything. I played probably 10 minutes in that game. I was off the whole game because I didn't know I had been a starter, so I was used to getting these minutes here. So when I went in, like I didn't know what the flow was, and it kind of just went downhill from there with my minutes, And we had it just wasn't a good situation. But
Still talk to that coach or no?
what'd you say?
You still talk to that coach or no?
I have not spoken to him in a while. No hard feelings or anything like that. Like I don't hold grudges, but it didn't work out. So,
Well, since I've been training, I've noticed the number one thing in basketball is if you have the ability to not think, or if you do think. And right there, if you don't know how many minutes you get, you're already starting to think. So your game's screwed.
Yeah, and when I go in, when I would go in the game, I was like, okay, I got to stay. Like I can't do anything wrong. I can't do anything because I got to play. And like that just screws you up because then you're thinking about all the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just got to turn your brain off.
Yeah, and definitely some of it was my fault because I didn't figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
I kind of just let it be bad and felt sorry for myself. But also, as a coach, it's your job to mentally boost your players, not tear them into the ground every single day,
Exactly. And did you ever advocate for yourself when your minutes were all over the place, or how'd that work?
All the time. And we were losing. And I was like, look, you know me. I'm the best shooter on this team, and I'm getting 1-3 a game.
Yeah.
We're not playing well. We're not shooting well. What's the deal here? What can I do? And I would always say, like, what can I do? What can I do? And he'd just say the same thing, like, keep working, like your time will come. And 5 years later, I'm still waiting for my time to come.
That's man. And that's at least you controlled what you could control, right? You did what you could, because most players in a situation like that, they'll just sit there and wait. They won't even say anything, which I think is the biggest problem. You got to speak up. You know what I mean?
And I definitely advocated for myself. And when I did, like the last, I don't know, 15 games, when I did get in, I did play well. I shot well I led our team in 3-point percentage, free throw percentage. I played well. I just didn't play a lot.
Yeah.
Towards the end, I was playing like 8 minutes a game.
So obviously, then that didn't satisfy you enough. So you went for professional.
Yeah, and it's been, since I got out of college, it's been tough. because I still haven't gotten to where I think my skills, my work ethic should have taken me. Especially right now because I haven't played in a real game since March of last year, because of everything going on. So
Yeah.
it's almost been a full year. And in 2019, I missed the whole season because I tore my ACL. So I'm like, this will be now almost 2 seasons that I'm missing, and that's been the toughest part for me, is just not playing, because I don't care where it is, what country, what I'm doing. I just want to play. Like, that's my love, is I just love playing,
Well, and especially when you invest so much time.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, this is the downfall with grinders, is they care so much because of all the time they've invested.
Yeah.
But again, you are where you are today because of your work ethic too.
Right. And I've definitely had those thoughts creep into my head saying, like, you know what, maybe you should just hang it up, go, because I could do so many different things, and those thoughts have come in, but I'm just like, I have put way too much time to give up now, especially when I feel like really good, like my body feels good when I take days off, my body feels good, but like my body feels good, my game feels good, it's just that opportunity at this point.
So do you have an end goal, like playing like NBA or G League, or?
I mean, obviously every player wants to play in the NBA, and it'd be no different for me, but I just want to play. I just want to get to the highest level for me, whatever that is. I don't know what it is. I'll only know when my career is over, but I want to get to whatever that highest level is. If it's the NBA, if it's the G League, if it's the Euro League overseas, if it's the top league in Spain, it doesn't really matter to me. I just want to keep moving forward.
That's really, really good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. One of the questions that I love asking people too is, if you could talk to your younger self again, what would be the number one thing that you would tell him to prepare for your journey that you've had?
I'd say, I got asked this question last week too. I said, like, stop worrying and stop caring what people think, because I spent way too much time caring about what my coaches thought, what my teammates thought, what other parents thought, what fans thought, like thinking, maybe I'm not good enough because someone on Twitter is saying I'm not that good, or someone in those chat rooms are saying I'm not good.
Yeah.
I spent way too much time thinking about that stuff, and I would just convince myself literally none of it matters. The only thing that matters is the work you put in, the opportunities you get, and then, performing when you get those opportunities.
That's really good, because that's literally word for word what my thoughts would be like, like when I was playing.
Yeah. It's tough because kids, it just happens, and so naturally for kids, they get too caught up in what people think about them.
And it's just like, it's wasting brain space. Like, there's so many other things that you could be worrying about, because stress is part of life. And I actually just had this in my email letter I sent out to our subscribers, is the most successful people stress about the most stressful things in terms of how great it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, right now I'm stressing about getting a facility built to close the gate.
Yeah.
When a year ago, all I would care about was how many followers I have on Instagram, or what people thought of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's such a big mindset change. And once you reach that change, it's so much better for your mental capacity,
That's you, like, take words out of my mouth.
Well, see, this is why I told you this is going to be a good conversation, because I could just tell that we share the same thought process on a bunch of different things.
Like, I feel like you're because I had the same goals of going professional before, about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Before I started the training thing, and then I was like, I could seriously do this.
Yeah.
Soon. So your journey sounds something that, like, if I didn't start Close the Gate, I would be down that right now, like the exact path.
For sure.
But I can't even. I've been with you since, like, you started your TikTok.
Really?
Yeah, and I've like written down, when I was training in the summer, I didn't obviously know I was going to take over Close the Gate.
Yeah.
but I was practicing moves you would post on your TikTok.
Really?
Yeah, so I was with you since you had like a couple thousand followers.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
It's
I
crazy
so
how much it's blown up.
I know. I started like my Instagram skills page in 2017, and from like 2017 to like when quarantine started, I had maybe like 300, 400 followers. And it was fine. I didn't really care because I would just throw videos up because I loved it so much. I just throw videos of drills and stuff. And usually the people who follow me were just like my friends and like my family, like not basketball players. Um, but then, I started my TikTok with the help of my wife's little sister, because she said like, people love basketball on this app and like you get so much more followers. I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just start posting there. And that's kind of how it happened. I blew up kind of quickly on there, and it wasn't anything crazy, because if you know me, I'm not very like, I don't really talk in my videos, and I don't like, it's just pure basketball. It's just these are the drills, this is the workout. So I guess people enjoyed it and are continuing to enjoy it. I don't know.
That's one thing I noticed is you wouldn't post music sometimes. And when I was trying to blow up on TikTok, they're like, number one thing is music. And you were over here not even posting anything. And it was just,
sometimes I wanted to post music because it's, cool in the background and stuff, but I just love the sound of the ball bouncing and going through the net. I didn't want to take away from that.
That's awesome. What is it at now? 100 something.
Yeah. Last time I checked, it was over 100, which is really cool. I like being able to impact, because most of the people who follow me are young basketball players.
Yep.
So I like being able to impact kids from around the world. And I was telling my wife the other day, like 20,000 of my followers are from the Philippines. Like that's
really
that's insane to me.
Insane. There's so much controversy about social media and business and if it really matters, but at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is impact people.
Yeah.
And if you have 100,000 followers and even 10% of those people see the video, you're affecting 10,000 people.
I know. And I'm not doing any of this to get rich or to, money and stuff like that. I love basketball and I love helping people, because a lot of these kids, and a lot of these kids have no direction whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like literally none. They don't know what to do. I get kids in my DMs all the time saying, I have no idea, like, how do you structure workouts? I have no idea what to do. And it hurts me because, there's so many kids who just have no clear direction. And that's kind of, I don't know. I just don't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like that was hard for me too before I started training, you would assume people already knew all these things. Yeah. So it's like, what can you have to offer? When in reality, like, people that they haven't done what we've done, like spending 5 hours a day on basketball, and we had to trial and error to get there. Yeah. And now you're offering it just for 15 seconds of their attention.
Right.
That's why I think social media is just getting started, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much room for even more things to happen.
And like, you got to be so smart with how you use it though. Cause like I only post, I never am. Well, I guess that's a lie. I look at what other trainers post too.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm not looking at anyone else's social media profiles and stuff. Cause you can just sucks time away from your day.
It does. It really does.
I make my kids do a productivity notebook and so I can see what they're doing and stuff and if they're wasting time. And I'll have kids that spend like 3 hours a day on TikTok. It's nuts.
It is crazy. These kids nowadays. It's so insane. I can't imagine. My dad would kill me if he saw that when I was a kid.
Like, and I'll put in perspective for him. I'm like one of my kids had 8 hours screen time a day. And I'm like, you sleep 8 hours a day and you're on that 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So if you live to 167 years of your life are on your phone and sleeping, you got 33 left.
That is insane.
It's crazy.
So let me ask you, going back into like your training and the kids you train, what do you think are some of the most important things that you teach them?
definitely all in the mental aspect of basketball is the most important part. The most common thing I see is I call it chase failure.
Yeah.
The subconscious reaction to misses and hitting the ball off your foot and just messing up is the biggest block in the road that prevents kids from becoming actually really good at basketball. And I get that, and I ingrain it in their brain to, you have to love messing up. Because I'll ask them, I'm like, are you going to be terrible in the day's workout? And sometimes they'll say no, and I'm like, I'm going to make sure you're really, really bad. Because that's how they get good fast.
Yeah.
And when you have true care for the kids you train, and like I always tell myself, I got to act like this is my kid. And I'm trying to make him like, pro.
Right.
That's how I act when I train them. But chase failure is the number one thing I say, and then perception is reality. When, like, again, I just said I give them terribly hard drills, they'll be like, I can't do this. And I'm like, perception is reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no shit, you're not going to be able to do it if you think you can't do it. Like, you got to go in with a mental state that you can conquer whatever you want to conquer.
And if to that point, if you go into it saying you can't do it, you 100% won't do it. But if you come in with that positive attitude, you still might not get there, but at least you're giving yourself a better chance.
It's improvement, not perfection.
Yeah.
Right? Never going to be perfect at it. It's how well did you get at it from last week when you tried it?
Right. And your first point, I think, is important too, because when I work with my basketball trainer, we could sit there for 2 hours and just take, off the dribble shots and ball screen stuff and spot up jumpers, but I'm not getting better. But when our workout yesterday, he made me think I had never played basketball before with some of the stuff we were trying to accomplish with my footwork and, different moves with the ball. And that's what I like, because even though I'm playing at such a high level, there's still so many things I can get better at. And it just opens my mind to thinking like I can be so much better. And that's why I like working with him so much, because he makes me look horrible. And like if I had like somebody filming it, they'd be like, "Yo, this kid sucks."
That's what you just said. I'm gonna have to quote that. He makes me feel like I've never played basketball before. That's how it's gotta be. And even at your level, like, there's so many, even think 10, 20 years from now, there's so many moves that haven't been created yet. We just haven't thought of it.
Yeah, we haven't done them yet.
It's crazy.
Let me ask you this as well. So with your training and all that, where do you see it? Have you spent time thinking about where you want it to go and where you think it'll go?
So it depends on if I play basketball, if I finish out my degree. With what I'm doing right now, I don't need a degree, because in terms of business, you can basically learn everything on YouTube and Google.
Yeah.
In terms of exercise science in the body, that's a little bit harder to learn for free.
Yeah.
So if I did go back, I'd probably major in something about the body.
Yeah.
Just to help train with. But if I don't do that and I just keep running with close the gate, because if I wanted to, I could keep running with it right now.
Right.
I would try and build the facility as fast as possible, because right now I only have one hoop. Yeah. And that's the biggest problem, because I've maxed out every day. We work like 6 to 8 hours every day, and that's all we can really, because kids have school, so you have to go from like 3 to 10.
Yeah.
But if you get a facility with like, say I got 2 full courts, then that's 4 hoops.
Right.
So you could have 4 training sessions going at a time, and then once you get to that point, then everything else after there is just a rocket, basically.
Right.
So that would be my plan if I don't go back to college.
Cool. Very cool.
I only have one other question, and what I love about my podcast is I really try and incorporate life lessons into it.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to ask you, what is the number one piece of life advice, not just basketball, that someone's ever given you?
That's a good question. It'd definitely be from my dad, because he is full of life lessons and experiences, and he's been through it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. He tells me all the time, he tells me 2 things. He tells me it's not going to go as you want it to. It's not going to go as planned. So it's how you respond to that adversity that really determines whether you'll be successful or not, because everyone's going to face adversity at some point. And it's not the adversity that comes, it's how you react to it. So he tells me that all the time. And my family, my grandpa, my dad, myself, and my brother, you know, they're big on, there's no such thing as luck. You kind of, you know, you either create your own luck or shit just happens to you. So my grandpa would always tell me, I'm not going to wish you luck, but I'll wish you well, because he knows that when you're wishing for luck, you're not prepared and you're just hoping something's going to happen to you, and hope's not a plan. And my dad has instilled that in me, you know, for years and years, that you create your own luck. So definitely those two things for sure.
That's so true. Because I finished Relentless. Have you read that?
But like 6 times.
Seriously?
I read it like, yeah.
He had that statement in the book, is like, never wish someone good luck.
No, yeah. It's
Because
so
if you
true.
have to do that, they're not ready. And
No, they're not ready.
That's the first big problem.
Yep.
That's 6 times. Jeez.
I that's one of my favorite books ever. I love it so much.
I annotate when I read, and the whole thing is just.
Oh yeah. Anything with Kobe and MJ and their mindset and how they thought about basketball, I will read.
So I assume you're MJ over LeBron.
Yes. And I think it's because I'm a little older, you know, because these younger kids have never seen MJ or like anything. Even though I didn't see him play like live back in the day, but mentality wise, I think just MJ has the edge. That's all.
There's just something about his greatness. I don't know what it is, but it's
He's a winner, man. He's just a winner. Like, he wasn't a great shooter. You know, he shot like 20-something% from 3 in his career, but he'll just get you a bucket and he just wins. Like 6-0 in the finals. That's all you need to say. 6 finals MVPs. I don't know what else to tell you.
That's awesome.
Thank you, gatekeepers, for listening. Make sure you're staying up to date and have listened to every single podcast. Please rate us on whatever platform you're listening to this on to be submitted into our Review of the Day contest. This is where we'll give you a shout out if you give us a review, and we can talk about you on the podcast. The reviews will help whatever platform you're listening to it on reach a wider and global audience. That's what it's all about, trying to impact and influence as many lives as possible for the better. If you have been a part of Close the Gate and have been following along for our journey, do not be afraid to submit testimonials. They can be video or text. This will help others see how much true change Close the Gate can make in a life. We love as many questions as possible for new topics to talk about. Don't be afraid to reach out to me, Coach Jack, at jackhummel12@gmail.com, or text me 608-201-7384. We want critique. Always strive for the better. You are never too good at something. You can always contact us about literally anything. We're always going to be here for you. Lastly, if you like this episode of Off the Court, please take a screenshot and share it with whatever social media platform you're on to be entered into a contest so that we can notice who's listening to this and whose lives we're impacting, and if what we're giving you is what we want, because that's what it's all about. We're here to solve your problems, what your biggest desires and answers want to be. Thank you guys so much. Stay tuned. We're going to keep feeding you this free education and content. It's going to keep coming. We are not going to stop. I'm Coach Jack. Thanks for listening, gatekeepers. I'm out. Peace.